Welcome to the CBIA BizCast powered by Google. I'm Amanda Marlow. One of the major themes this legislative session is finding solutions to make Connecticut more affordable for small businesses. Not surprisingly, energy costs are at the center of that discussion. Connecticut's energy costs are among the highest in the country. Rising electricity rates are putting intense pressure on businesses across the state, particularly small businesses. But there is legislation on the table designed to provide some relief.
I'm proud to stand here today in support of Senate Bill 2 for helping small business, helping our towns.
By reducing the sales tax and cutting it, we can immediately save these small businesses 6.35% on their electric bill overnight. This is the only policy that state legislature can do to do that.
This bill does even more than just helping tourism in our towns, but obviously the utility costs, and my operators that are back here, just their eyes are gleaming like, could this go through? So I hope that it does.
Small business owners, lawmakers, and business organizations are calling attention to Senate Bill 2. The Democrat priority bill passed out of the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee on a bipartisan vote. The bill includes key provisions that support local tourism and cut the state's sales tax on energy for many small businesses. Now, under current law, there are exemptions for electricity and natural gas, but they only apply to manufacturers and companies that carry out specific industrial processes. SB 2 expands that eligibility to commercial and industrial businesses with less than $10 million in gross income, regardless of how the energy is used. CBIA Vice President of Public Policy Chris Davis joined business leaders and a bipartisan group of lawmakers at a news conference to support the bill.
We want to thank the Senate Democratic Caucus for making this a priority this year. It is very important that we continue to fund tourism. But we also want to point out a very important section of the bill that also benefits the small businesses that are here with us here today, and that's Section 1 of the bill that cuts the sales tax on electricity bills for small business owners across the state. As these energy costs continue to climb, we are now the second highest one, and by some measurements, in the country. Those electricity costs continue to climb for our small businesses across the state. And by reducing the sales tax and cutting it, we can immediately save these small businesses 6.35% on their electric bill overnight. This is the only policy that state legislature can do to do that. And the way that we can support these small businesses, whether they're restaurateurs, convention centers, hotels, or any of the other small businesses across the state. When their electricity bills go up, that means perhaps cutting jobs. That means raising prices for their customers. This bill allows them to be able to reduce those costs. And that's why it's so important. When you couple that with the revenue that would come in with this increased tourism, you have these reduced costs for energy and their ability to reinvest into their communities and their employees. This could be a home run for economic development across the state, and that's why it's so critically important that we have this bipartisan support for Senate Bill 2. So I want to thank Representative Santos, Representative Ritigliano, Senator Austin, Senators Duff and Looney for really putting this forward this year and championing this. And I want to thank our sister organizations like CCM and CRHA for being here and championing this as well.
CBIA Senior Policy Director Pete Myers testified in support of the bill, highlighting what lower energy costs mean for the business community.
And I'm also grateful to testify today in strong support of Senate Bill 2. And we want to thank the Senate Democrat Caucus for prioritizing this legislation, which really, from our point of view, focuses on reducing energy costs and strengthening local commerce in our state. This is an immediate step that can be taken right away to lower the cost of energy for businesses in our state. Small businesses, like all businesses in the state, are facing increasing costs. And by removing the sales tax for those businesses, we can give them some form of relief on their energy bill. Now, I want to give some idea about what the region is doing on this. Looking at the state of Rhode Island, we are seeing that in 2015, they completely removed the sales tax on all energy bills for all residents of the state. Now, a little earlier there, we hadn't seen quite the spike in energy bills, but still a good move there that we think we should take a look at. Also, in the state of Massachusetts, they removed the sales tax on energy bills for the smallest businesses that earn less than $1 million annually. So, another step that can make us more competitive with our surrounding states on addressing a very complex issue. For many of our small employers in our state, their energy bill is not unlike any other part of their business where costs are increasing. So relief that we can give them there can give them better chances to invest in their business and help to grow their workforce.
Another key provision of the bill redirects revenue from the state's existing 1% meals and beverage tax and splits it between the municipalities and state tourism fund. Advocates say this is a game changer for businesses, communities, and the state's economy.
I don't come up here very often, but when I heard about this bill, it seemed like such an obvious solution to creating a positive partnership with the state. The idea of taking, a small amount of money and giving it back to the tourism office and to municipalities to invest so that there could be this collaboration. I think it really is an obvious and logical way to partner with entrepreneurs and to really attract people to come visit Connecticut.
Tourism doesn't happen by accident. Main streets like in Old Saybrook are the heartbeat of our community. We need our restaurants on Main Street. We don't want our main streets to become real estate offices, doctors' offices. We want them to be thriving with shops and restaurants. Senate Bill 2 will do that.
Over the past several years, restaurants like mine have been under constant pressure. From the pandemic to staffing shortages to rising costs and tight margins that just keep getting tighter. Through it all, we've done what restaurants do. We show up, we adapt, we keep people employed, we support our local communities and charities, and we help build culture. And that's why Senate Bill 2 matters. This isn't just policy, it's practical. It's about whether local businesses like mine can continue to survive and thrive and support the communities that they're a part of.
I'm so excited about Senate Bill 2. It has long been a dream of mine to see us invest money into tourism, because for every dollar we put in, we get $9 back in return. It's a 9-to-1 return, which means that we can invest in other things. It's so important for us to commit to tourism.
The Tourism Marketing Fund is $4.5 million. Really not even close to pacing with our peers in the Northeast. Rhode Island is spending close to $13 million, Maine $20 million. The I Love New York campaign is about $125 million. This will change that. We will be able to compete with our Northeast peers on a tourism front for years to come. It's a long-term, stable solution.
What we need is somebody with an office and a phone and calling other states for conventions, sporting events. There's lots of things out there that we miss on because we don't have an active person soliciting their business. It's a small percentage that can go back that everybody can benefit from. It's not just a restaurant that benefits if the hotels are full and the convention center's full. It's everything from the gas stations to the retail shops to Main Street.
We have been asking for this bill for a long time, and now is the time. This is an economic development investment in our state, in every municipality. It trusts in the municipalities and it invests in the municipalities to support the businesses that they make them so special.
This bill creates that incentive. It creates that ability for our towns and cities to support tourism through its own infrastructure. So to support its restaurants and its businesses, and to create a quality of life that is not 100% dependent locally on pushing it into property tax increases.
We need to make these changes that will help our cities. It will help the hospitality market as a whole. And it's really important to have bipartisan support here, to have folks from different industries, to have folks from different associations and business owners. I hope that the message is being sent out and heard that we need to make this happen. SB 2 should pass out of committee. It should pass in the Senate and in the House, and that we make this a reality for our community, for our state.
That full list of everyone who spoke at the news conference is in the show notes. The bill now goes to the full Senate. Now to other updates you may have missed this week. Derek Ozofsky, president of West Hartford-based Outsourced Risk Management Solutions, has been named Connecticut's 2026 Small Business Person of the Year by the U.S. Small Business Administration. He'll be honored along with 6 other awardees May 6th at the National Small Business Week SBA Awards and Resource Expo, a collaboration between CBIA and the SBA. General Dynamics Electric Boat is entering a phase of historic hiring and investment, with plans to hire 8,000 people across Connecticut and Rhode Island this year. At its legislative briefing, EB President Mark Rea said unprecedented growth and demand are driving major long-term investments in the region. Plus, we're learning more about the impact tariffs are having on Connecticut's economy. New federal export data shows a shakeup among Connecticut's major trading partners. Exports grew just 1.9% in 2025, the slowest pace since the pandemic, while imports surged as businesses rushed to stock shelves ahead of sweeping tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. In other news, Women's History Month just ended. Before we close out our episode, we want to give you a peek into a conversation between some of Connecticut's top women in healthcare, moderated by Harris Beach Murtha's Jennifer Morgan. It took place at CBIA's annual When Women Lead conference, which brought nearly 800 people together in Hartford last month.
So even the most successful leaders among us face challenges along the way. That's just part of pretty much everyone's journey. And I'm wondering if you could each give us an example of a challenge you've faced and how you've navigated it. Dr. Lawrence?
I think for me, one of the most defining challenges in my career, a few years ago, I was elected president of the Fairfield County Medical Association. And this is an organization that's been around for about 230 years. I was the first woman of color, and I was taken over at the helm at a time when the institution was under financial distress. We had about an 18-month runway in terms of financial stability. And I quickly realized that some very difficult decisions had to be made in a timely fashion. This included changing leadership that had been in place for more than 20 years, renegotiating contracts, terminating some, as well as changing the value proposition of the organization. Healthcare had evolved over the last 20 plus years, and we were still doing things that perhaps did not really apply to our current physician. Many physicians had moved away from private practice. We're all now part of a health system. So how do you build partnership with those health systems? And one of the lessons that I learned very quickly is that doing what's necessary isn't always comfortable, and that you're not always able to build consensus in order to move the goalposts.
In my first management job, my whole department was downsized a few years in, and I was having to navigate my career path, and this was in 2009, so it was a particularly challenging economic climate. I think a lot of people would remember that. So I decided that in order to, find my way and find my next step in my career was to stay relevant. And I did that through an organization known as NABIP. It's the National Association of Benefits and Insurance Professionals. They really bring insurance professionals together to network, to educate, and to advocate. And by staying visible and relevant, I was able to gain access to opportunities that I wouldn't have if I hadn't engaged and stayed relevant.
I look back to the first time I took on a manager role, and I think that one of the challenges I faced at that time really kind of helped me learn, because I think I made some mistakes. I had to figure out really quick how to be a human and how to be a leader. And sometimes, looking at like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with this as the human side of me, but as looking at the organization, I know if we don't do this, all these other programs and services are going to suffer. You don't do this alone, you do this with a team, and you do this with the support of others. You might have to be the one making that final difficult decision, but your team is just as much a part of that. So for me, it really became about, I can still be the leader and the supervisor and the manager, but I could also still be a human and ensure that the clients and the staff and everybody else are able to have a place at the table. So,
and you said something at the beginning there that I think is important to follow up on, which is that you made mistakes and you tried to learn through your mistakes. But I think this whole concept of resilience is important, right? Like, we all make mistakes, that's part of it. But how do you keep yourself from getting down and letting that get you down? How do you have that resilience to push forward?
For me, the resilience comes from making sure that I always, no matter what role I'm in, stay true to the mission of either the organization or what my mission is in life as a healthcare leader. And if I do that and keep that at my forefront, when the times are tough or difficult, I'm able to like step back and ground myself in that. And then I think the other piece is, as I said, surrounding yourself with individuals who are strong and support the same vision that you're going for.
And I'll just add on to what Grace said. I fully agree. I think for me, it's staying connected with the networks that I've built of women, professionals that I rely on, that I can trust. These relationships that I've forged and developed with women who have challenges that are similar to mine or greater than mine, and their recommendations from their solid experience.
So kind of pivoting to healthcare as a profession, what can you do to advocate for women in the healthcare profession? Do you see particular challenges for women in the field, and how can the folks in our audience in the field, what can they do to overcome those?
I think there's still challenges in terms of representation, balance in personal and professional commitments. And I think some of the things that leaders in particular can do is help with creating mentorship and sponsorship program for women, also creating leadership developmental opportunities for women. And one of the things that I always emphasize is that a part of it is opening the door so that other women can enter to those doors. But another huge and important segment is also making sure women feel supported once they've walked through those doors, because that's where the real challenge comes in success.
I'm a member of Executive Women of New Jersey, and that organization, really their mission is to provide equal opportunity for women to have a seat at the table, be on board positions, have access to leadership, and they do that by promoting women. And also they offer a scholarship program. So there are a lot of women in the healthcare field in that organization. So I think we have a heavy influence there. And I do want to add that in the 9 years that I have been building my team, the majority of them are women. And it's not because I don't want to hire men, it's just because they were qualified for the job. So that's great, I think.
I'm a huge fan of mentoring and coaching. And the mentor and coach does not necessarily need to be your direct supervisor, things like that. It's the people. You can match up and coming leaders with somebody in a higher level leadership role to provide them some coaching and mentoring. It's as simple as opening doors and allowing people seats at the table. We have to provide opportunities. We have to provide training. We have to provide support. And again, we have to allow people to make mistakes and to learn from them, and don't use that as, oh, you're not strong enough for this, so you're here. No, how can we help you get there? Mm-hmm. What is your plan, and how can we invest in you? Because if we're investing in our up and coming leaders, I really feel like you're strengthening that healthcare system even more. Because when you leave your seat, somebody else is going to be there to be able to take it.
So along those lines, talking to people more at the beginning of their career, do you have any advice for women starting out in the healthcare field, and also for women aspiring to executive roles?
I would say do the work, because that's where you gain your confidence. Surround yourself with the people and the women that you want to emulate, and join organizations and associations. You've heard me talk a lot about that, but it's about learning, especially we're in this kind of quasi-hybrid work environment still, and especially if you're in sales, you're probably not going to an office all the time. So it's really good to get that kind of on-the-job training, or maybe that peer learning experience that you're not getting if you're in the office every day. And the last thing I would say is apply for the job. Don't not apply for the job if you can't do everything on the job description. That's a huge mistake, because you and don't be afraid to say that you don't know everything, because you can learn it.
It's about watching and learning, absorbing. I think that as you're coming up, I think if you pay attention, you step back, and you can learn something from the best supervisor or leader and the worst in your career. You can learn something from either situation. You just have to be open to do that. And I always say, take the opportunities. Don't not do an opportunity. Don't say, no, I can't do this opportunity, make excuses because you're afraid. Go past the fear and do it. Because the more times you do it, the more opportunities will come for you, the more comfortable you'll be in those spaces. And we, as more senior leaders, need to provide those opportunities and make the spaces for that to occur.
I would say, to echo what my colleague said before, is that don't wait until you feel ready. Growth happens in the stretch. And so it's really important that you just go for it. Some of the biggest lessons that I've learned have been from my failures. And so don't be afraid to try. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is, in fact, is a part of success.
And that's a wrap on this week's BizCast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. In the meantime, give us your feedback and let us know if there are any guests you'd like to hear from by emailing us at bizcast@cbia.com. And remember, you can listen, like, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. For a full list of episodes, head to cbia.com.